Hello and welcome to the Microbrew, the GameBrew's occasional shortened episode content. I am here this week with Dan Rotz.
Hi.
Will Shell.
Hello.
Chris Wrights.
Yo.
And myself, of course. And today...
You're here with yourself?
Yes, I'm here with
Say hi.
It's me and me. Hi, everybody.
He doesn't have a split personality disorder at all. It's fine.
Today, we're going to be giving you our quick thoughts on Destiny 2, which we've been playing a lot of, and we're going to dive into free-to-play, pay-to-win, controversial stuff. Yeah, I mean, it was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Especially recently.
Yeah. But first, we're going to talk about, we're doing a little grab bag of beers before we do that. So, Dan, what do you got over there, man?
Mine's kind of like a beer. It's a root beer. It's an ale, technically. I'm drinking Not Your Father's root beer because it's an alcoholic root beer. It's freaking delicious.
Alcoholic root beer. It's a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing. Chris, Chris, what are you drinking, man?
It's a delicious thing.
I am drinking DC Breh Oktoberfest.
What? DC what?
DC Breh. DC Breh. DC Breh.
DC, Breh.
Yeah, Breh.
Come on, Breh.
It's, an Oktoberfest from DC.
Breh.
I like to take it straight to the point. Thank you. And Will, are you drinking anything over there, man? Or are you just chilling?
Well, I thought I had extra beer in the fridge, but I don't. So I'm having scotch and peanut butter from a jar with a spoon.
Wow.
You were drinking some spaghetti earlier.
Wow.
And I had spaghetti.
And spaghetti.
All those things go together really well,
And
I think.
spaghetti.
Yes, they do.
And blankets.
So yeah, I'm good.
And I'm bayoneting the last of my dragon's milk, which I'm enjoying again. It's funny, from
Is that like shotgunning, bayoneting?
no, bayoneting is where you just like throw it up in the sky and smash it with a stick and just open your mouth and hope that some falls in there.
Okay.
It's even more hardcore.
That seems messy.
I was just going to say that last week we were drinking dragon's milk and I liked it and it seemed really smooth. This week I'm drinking it straight from the bottle and it is significantly more whiskier. It's definitely got some bite on the front. So depending on the vessel from which you are consuming this, the taste definitely changes.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah. Because of that aeration stuff that happens when you pour it.
Right, the aeration when you pour it and the fact that it's sort of an open glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So we've been digging into Destiny 2 this week. Will dug into it on Xbox One about a month ago when it released, and I've been spending a fair amount of time in the Destiny 2 world. I think I'm just pushing over level 15. So what do you guys think?
I still love it.
I really like the mouse and keyboard combat. It feels a lot like Doom in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like, but a little more controlled, and like obviously you have to reload. But like it reminds me a lot of Doom.
It's like floaty Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to Bradley about this yesterday because he was watching me play, and he was like, "It seems like it would be so hard with WASD and a mouse because you don't have that double control." And I'm like, "Well, you do. It's just different. Like your movements with the left stick aren't as specific because you're WASDing, but your movements with your mouse, which would be like the right stick,
Are way more
is a little bit more
specific,
precise."
It's a lot more precise.
So it's kind of like
huge.
a trade-off of one where it's like, I'm sure on console, like I do a lot more jumping around to try and get myself to be in the right place to shoot people. But on the computer, I kind of stay in one place and then aim a little bit easier with the mouse than anything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I think the connection to Doom is interesting. There's actually the devouring or the hunger subclass for the warlock actually reminds me a lot of Doom because essentially you melee to open up your kill streak thing, and then every kill that you get recharges your powers, and it also restarts the clock. So as long as you kill someone within that 9 seconds, it's pushing your powers up more and more and more. So there's a sense of chaining kills together, which was kind of a big thing in Doom.
Yeah, and I get a lot of that melee feel. Like I was telling Dan when we were playing before this, Like, I didn't expect to be meleeing so much in this game.
Yeah.
It's so
like,
satisfying.
I'm one hit killing. And like, I don't know if this continues once you hit the level cap, but like, I'm just basically one hit killing everything, or like hitting them a couple times with my gun and then smacking them, because that also opens up a lot of stuff for me, like shielding things and stuff like that, because I'm playing a Titan.
Right. Yeah, I think so far I feel really positive about it. There's definitely a huge amount of polish on it. I really appreciate that they're personalizing the characters in it more. That makes such a big difference.
Yeah. The one thing that I think is really cool is they kind of cleaned up, they kind of individualized the animations for the enemies, like whenever they're moving from place to place, because it used to be just like you, where they just move around, walk on 2 legs, shoot some stuff, walk on 2 legs, shoot some stuff. Now, like the Vandals will like run on 4 legs every once in, or like their hands and feet every once in a while, just to go real fast. The Hive like leap off of stuff in like terrifying ways instead of just being all floaty. And it's just like, wow, they really dove into the enemy characters, kind of making them more like individual races of characters, as opposed to, hey, this enemy in this place is the same as this enemy.
On the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of wish that they... Sorry, go ahead, Will.
I was going to say, yeah, you're right. There's definitely a large degree of personalization. It's not the right word, but I'm going to go with personalization of the caricaturization of the enemies and the environments. And they're just a lot of fun to watch move around. Each thing kind of has its own characteristic, and some of the bigger ones are just straight up terrifying to watch move around or come at you. What's the thing that's got like the shield that rotates around it, and you have to shoot through the windows?
Is that a Spectre?
No, it's like a Minotaur, or the heck are they called?
I can't remember what it's called. But those things are intimidating as shit. They've just got like big, hunky, chunky kind of movement characteristics.
Hunky chunky.
And they can also just shoot you with big lasers.
That's that new Ben and Jerry's flavor, hunky chunky.
Hunky chunky.
Hunky chunky.
I just kind of wish that there was a little more diversity of enemies from like between games. Like, it just seems like they carried over basically the same character or enemies that they had.
They
in the last
did.
game.
It does, for better and for worse. It feels like Destiny 1 8.0. You know what I mean? It doesn't really feel like a brand new Destiny game. It feels like a giant expansion of the first game.
Yeah, I kind of feel that too.
That's fair.
That's fair. And that's kind of, they wanted to delve more into the story of the world, because that's what a lot of people were asking for, is they wanted more, like, we know so little
more of the
what
lore.
love is. I want to know what love is.
I want to know what
you can show me.
Love is.
I love
you
instigating
to
this
show me.
I know you can show me.
I feel so much love. But yeah, no, I think, and that's kind of what people were asking for, is that story stuff. So they just wanted to deliver that, I feel like, without.
Are you guys enjoying? Sorry.
Fuck you. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Will, what's up? What's up?
No, what's up, man?
Are you guys enjoying the community aspect of it? Because I know when I first played through the single player campaign, I didn't do very much of that at all with friends, but there was still definitely a communal aspect as I went through the world, and if I did any side things, and I loved it. It was so much fun.
I'm not really feeling a community yet, but I think a lot of that comes in with the end game. I really liked playing with Chris and Dan the other day when they were on. I mean, that was awesome. Yeah. And I really think having those public events it seems like the public events are A, much more accessible, and B, much more common.
They happen to
all the time,
rapidly.
Basically.
Yeah, and also they're like more obvious. Before, you had to like look up what the timing stuff was in Destiny. Yeah. Be like, oh, this one's going to happen every 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes, I got to be in this area because it might start up. And this way, now it just has things on your map.
Which is wish a little bit. Oh my god, the map and like the mission system is so much better. Destiny 1, to do anything, you had to go to orbit. Like, I want to go to a different mission, go to orbit. I want to go back to the tower, go to orbit. I want to poop my pants, go to orbit. Like, every single thing you wanted to do, you had to go to orbit.
I don't remember that part.
And they fixed that, which is great.
Yeah,
that is good.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our fleet. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our discussion of free to play, pay to win. the free-to-play model has been around in gaming for a long time. It started with MMOs, other genres picked it up, and now a lot, if in fact probably all genres, have some kind of purchasable by real money model for in-game stuffs. And so we want to talk about how that's affected gaming, how that affects games individually, and what it means for gameplay.
I hate free-to-play.
You hate free-to-play.
You do.
You haven't
like
enjoyed
all
any free-to-play games.
You have never
ever
played
in
a
your
free-to-play game that you liked.
If I have, I'm not thinking of one at the moment.
Did you like League or Heroes of the Storm or Dota 2 or Fortress 2?
I liked League, but I don't like the rotational character system.
That's why you can earn credits to get your own characters.
Name a free-to-play game that you hate, Will, and why.
And we'll tell you why you're wrong.
Anything on a smartphone. I almost don't play games on my smartphone because they're all, like, there's so many free-to-play. I'm sure there's some great ones that I could pay for, but if it's on a smartphone and it's free, I don't even touch the thing. Like Candy Crush, horrible. I don't even know if it's free to play. I just assume
it is.
Hate it. Hate it.
It is. So, but you have not played it. You haven't played it.
I just don't like the whole concept of if I play. This goes back to why we like gaming. I like to be immersed in what I'm doing. I don't want to get into something and then 5, 10, 15 minutes down the road be halted in my progress because they want money from me or they want me to wait, 24 hours before I can do something. I don't want that, and I'm not going to do that.
That's what the whole free-to-play system is built around, is like, and there's the South Park episode. I put this in the notes so I could cite my sources. It's called Freemium Isn't Free. It's from season 18, episode 6. And in it,
At what minute do they talk about it?
I think it's minute 24 because it's toward the end.
That would be the end of it, yeah.
Yeah. Because basically Stan's giving a presentation, or Kyle, one of them, is giving a presentation to the Canadian Prime Minister. And he's just like, they make these free, and they call it freemium. They make these free games that are free, and they make the game about waiting. But you can pay to not wait, which is genius. Like, that was the single most smartest thing any person could have done who said, I want to make money, but also have a free thing. Is they make it about waiting. They make you pay to not wait. And that's what Will hates. Will hates the fact that you have to wait for stuff if you want to play it for free, and that they try and make you pay for things in that. I
think that there are good versions of free, though.
Definitely. And I agree with that, because that's how I feel about them too.
There
like what
Sorry, I was going to say, there are specific examples of free-to-play games that I could talk about that I like, but I think that waiting is a really garbage gameplay mechanic.
It is.
Like, it is literally an arbitrary gate to say, like, there's nothing you can do to progress. There's no further thing that you can do with this. You just literally have to sit there and watch the seconds tick by. It's not even...
And that left such a terrible taste in my mouth. That's why I just don't even bother
Or you can pay.
I'm just not interested.
So that
genius.
That waiting model feels like it's very punitive. However, models that allow you to make significant progress without paying, to me, encourage me more to pay a little bit so that I can move faster, because they kind of gave me the taste, right? They let me think that I could do it on my own, and then I could speed up the process. I think Hearthstone is a really potent example of that.
Sure, and like I think that if there's like a quality product behind it, like it's not just the game mechanic isn't just like the game is not just playing literally the waiting game. If it's an actual legit game that was free, that has good content that you want to buy, like, yeah, if you like in Hearthstone, you might want to buy some more packs, or like in Star Wars The Old Republic, you can play that for free, like pretty much the complete game, and you can pay a little bit monthly if you want to get like a little help or whatever, like if you just really enjoy that game, but you don't have to. And I think that I like that a lot. Because it allows you to really experience the game, and you can invest in it if you want to, but you don't have to.
Okay, so not to plant myself on either side of this issue, but I will say that I have soured lately with Hearthstone because, and I've been playing Hearthstone since it's been released, like I play the ladder every month, But lately it's been tough because I'm starting to realize this is a collectible card game. Once I turn the game off, there's no physical ownership that's going on. But I've probably spent, oh my God, I hope Lauren doesn't hear this. I've probably spent like at least $150 on Hearthstone.
Oh my God, seriously?
Well, you have to think in the time that since it was released, if you're keeping up with the expansions and like buying into the new expansions, yes, I would say at least it could be like $250 on Hearthstone.
It's freaking genius, man. I'm
no,
telling
but
you.
like, but now,
but like, were you paying for the campaigns or were you buying?
No,
packs?
like, well, some of the expansions were campaigns, so yeah.
Right.
But also, I did buy packs because I wanted. Basically, I only play Priest in Hearthstone, and which is terrible because Priest is the worst class in Hearthstone and has been since the beginning of Hearthstone and will be until the end of Hearthstone. But I always think like I could figure this out. I'm a smart guy. I can't. Priest is terrible. It's just the only class I play. So I dust a bunch of cards so I can make the deck that I want for a Priest build. But the point is, no one should ever pay that much for a video game. And right now, I feel like shamed and I feel angry at Blizzard because they could have made Hearthstone without nickeling and diming me that much. Now, I signed up for it. I'm the one who said yes. Like, I fully admit to that. But at the same time, I'm kind of pissed.
I don't have a huge problem with that, but here's why. That to me, Hearthstone to me is like a card game. No, it's not my money. Hearthstone to me is like a card. It's like Pokemon or the Digimon card game.
It is a card
or
game.
Magic the
It's
Gathering.
literally a card game.
It is a card game, and that maybe it's because we grew up with that. That's like a totally normal thing. I mean, who knows how much money my parents spent on Pokemon cards or Magic
yes, but
cards.
you still
What,
have
your
them.
parents
You still
bought your
own
Pokemon
those.
cards
Well,
for you?
I do
You know
still
what I mean?
have
You could
them.
sell
I do
those
still
if you
have
wanted
them.
to.
Oh man,
You
so
could sell them.
privileged.
Ian cannot sell his cards.
It's not that these other games are not a similar setup like Clash of Clans or whatever with the payment model. It's that I am not good at finding the correlation of the similarities between how is Clash of Clans the same as playing Magic the Gathering? Why is Magic worth me spending money on and this not? Because they're inherently the same. They're games.
Are the same.
I just like Hearthstone to me sounds totally like an awesome endeavor, and that's something I could get behind and support. I don't know why.
Well, I think it's like this whole thinking about it as a game idea, because it is a game, remember? So if you have fun doing it, then you'd be okay with spending the money on it, you know? Does that make sense? I know that sounds really basic.
No, it does.
But
It does. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying that there's value in the experience that you're getting, not just like
Right.
a physical thing that you own.
Yeah.
And I get that. But
That's-
at the same time, you know, I've spent $40 on the standard edition of Overwatch and probably, you know, never bought any loot boxes. And I've gotten I put way more hours into that and gotten way more enjoyment out of it than I have Hearthstone. So then I look at that and I say, okay, $40 got me a ton of enjoyment. You know, whatever obscene amount I spent on Hearthstone got me the same or less. Where's the value assessment in that? And that's where you really see, like, this is why these companies are doing it, because they can get more money out of you.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's exactly
and
it.
that
Well, you
makes
don't
sense.
realize you're spending. It's like a debit card. You don't realize you're spending that much
Well,
money on your debit
it's
or credit
feeding
card.
into
So
that.
here, take it.
It's feeding into that idea of gambling. I mean, essentially, it is gambling.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're gambling, like, oh, maybe the next pack, like, and that
Maybe this pack
dopamine
I get
feel,
will have something
yeah,
good in
that
it.
dopamine feel when you do get that awesome card that you needed, like that kind of like makes it feel okay at the time.
Makes you want to buy more
Getting
packs
psyched.
for sure.
Right, exactly. And like when you don't get it, you're like, oh, well, the next pack will have it. The next, like, that's literally that gambling cycle.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was going to say this might be conspiracy theorist of me, but I would love to sit on one of the conversations for a big marketing firm discussing how to set all this up and do that. Like how much of a tease to give them in each pack, like how many good things to give them just to keep that feeling and emotion going.
yeah.
Oh,
It's all math. Like all of this has been
Yeah.
studied and decided already. And there's literally like there are algorithms that have already been designed that say, like once every, 10 or like within the hour, this is how many times a person needs to feel successful to keep buying. Casinos, online gambling, all these people already figured this out.
Activision just patented a whole idea about like matchmaking and trying to get the a player that's is an aspiring sniper to go with a really good sniper, and he sees that good sniper's equipment and he just gets destroyed by it. So then he tries to go out and get that equipment. Like they're patented that algorithm.
Wow, I didn't know this.
The background business
you didn't hear about that?
Is really, really, I would say, well developed, but scary is probably a better term.
It's impressive and scary.
So free to play is dangerous, I think.
I think there's good versions of it and bad
I can't think of a good version of it. Like Hearthstone was my good example, and then I started actually thinking about it, and now I'm angry.
I still think that's that's a very personal thing, though, because I'm sure there are people who are happy with the amount of money that they've spent on Hearthstone stuff. Like they're happy with how they.
I would challenge them to examine how much happiness that brings them and how much they've spent on it compared to other games that they play that they also enjoy.
What about Warframe?
What about Warframe? Why does Warframe not bother me? I didn't spend any money on Warframe. I played Warframe for probably 20 to 30 hours and had a great time with it.
That's pretty awesome for a free-to-play game.
It's pretty awesome for a free-to-play game. I think that Warframe... Warframe's a good example. Okay, Chris. Yeah, fine. Good call.
There's I played when it came out when I was playing it on my PS4. I enjoyed War Thunder a lot.
That was good.
That was a lot of fun.
World of Tanks.
World of Tanks, kind of the same idea.
That's a pretty fun one.
So I think I think when it's designed well and like you can get into it without being hindered by just paying no money, I think that's a good model. But that allows I played a lot of League for a while, and I enjoyed that, and I got the characters, and I did pay for a couple skins, but particularly for Dr. Mundo, because he was the man. Nice. But I enjoyed having like some of those skins for the characters that I played, but I never paid for anything else other than that, because I didn't feel like I need to.
I will say that if you're going to be spending money, something like League where you buy the character and then you can just play that character for however long, is totally fine, as opposed to paying real world money for better equipment and then just smashing the shit out of everyone you play against, because that's no fun for the person who doesn't want to spend the game. League can still be fun if you don't want to spend money. You just have to be okay with playing new characters every week or however often they rotate.
And even just grinding a little while to get that in-game currency.
So that brings us that's a great segue into the loot boxes part of things. So Will just brought up that there's a difference between buying skins and buying new abilities that amplify your ability to win in some kind of competitive game. And a lot of games now have a purchase price up front and then also sell in-game stuff. So Overwatch, the Battlefield games, FIFA 2018, which is ridiculous to me, Madden, all of these games have a AAA premium price attached to them, and then they also give you, in quotes, give you the opportunity to spend more money on them to get more in-game stuff. And I would argue in FIFA 2018, you could basically... So the way FIFA 2018 is, there's a mode where you build your soccer squad, your football squad as
But it's like a deck.
Right, but it's like a deck, so you get packs just like you would in Hearthstone or in Battlefield, and players or special boosters come out of that pack, and then you put them on your team. So you could buy yourself to the perfect team in this FIFA 2018 mode and just roll over everybody else.
Yeah, and I remember, and like the first time that I can really remember seeing this was in Madden a couple of years ago, but then also. Do you remember when Battlefield 3 came out with the battle packs for people to catch up? Yeah. Like if they didn't have the gear. That was the first time I remember being really mad about it. Because I've been progressing for a while, and I had like 95% of the shit, but then people that were like way lower levels than me just suddenly like had all the gear, or like had spent way less, and like I thought that was so ridiculous. Like,
yeah, and that's like that's that pay to win mentality that really frustrates a lot of people in the same manner, right? Where it's like, I've been working really hard to get all this stuff, and then somebody just says, "Oh, I'm going to spend $50 and just have all that stuff too."
Right.
well, and it becomes an even bigger problem when that's available when the game starts. Like,
Battlefront.
I've been looking into some of the Battlefront 2 stuff, and you can just buy all this shit at the beginning, and then a lot of the power-ups are for, like, ships or characters, and, like, once you get those things, you can complete, like, there's, like, different tiers of it, and the first tier is, like, only, like, a 40% increase or a 40% reduction in damage you take, but then it can go up all the way to being invincible for that period of time that you use that ability, which is
ridiculous. Yeah, that is completely
silly.
unconscionable, and I hope that EA is forced to sleep in the shitty bed that they made, because I am not buying Battlefield 2 on release because of the Microbrew. Did I say Battlefield? Battlefront. I'm not buying Battlefront 2 on release because of that microtransaction infecting the gameplay.
Yeah, it's silly.
gonna do it.
Isn't that kind of what? Do you remember a while ago I was talking about the game Warface, which was a first-person shooter that had kind of the same problem, where it was really good and people were playing it for a long time as this free-to-play model, and then there were a new company started running it, and then they started to have all these microtransactions and people buying stuff to kind of get a leg up in it. And they were like, and then a whole lot of the old heads, the people who started playing it, were very frustrated with that. And that's kind of one of the things I wonder if developers think about that sometimes is, hey, we have these fans who've been playing these games for a while. Are we going to lose these people, but gain a whole bunch of new people who are going to spend more money? Or are they thinking more about people who play the game for not spending that money?
I think the difference is a focus from the developer on how we're going to monetize versus a focus from the developer on gameplay and enjoyment. Do you know what I mean? The old model of video games is make a good video game, people will buy it. The new model, this free to play or with the loot boxes or digital currency or whatever, is make a game that frustrates them just enough and they'll spend more money on it.
It's like they're spending more time on figuring out how to manipulate you to spend more money than actually making a great game.
That's the way some games
And
feel.
actually, now that I think about that, that is exactly what Mass Effect Andromeda was for their multiplayer.
Ooh, yeah, no, that's totally true. That's totally true.
Yeah.
I will admit that I spent $10 or $15, $10 or $15 on the Mass Effect multiplayer, but I also
You did?
Yeah, I did.
They gotcha.
because I wanted to, and also because we only spent like $15 on the game, so it's like, fuck
That's
it.
true. Yeah.
So to me, I didn't pay a premium price, so I feel okay spending a little bit more. But if I had bought that game for the full price and then gone into that multiplayer, I think I would have been a little bit upset.
Yeah.
I think that MMOs actually have a huge I think MMOs have had a huge impact on this payment system that we're seeing today, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was nothing before MMOs that was a recurring monthly income stream for these game companies. And when that started to get success on a major scale, it wasn't that long after before we started to see, especially with the advent of smartphones, pay to win scenarios.
Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
No, I mean, I guess you could say like arcade style games were kind of an income stream.
That's true.
That too.
Before that.
Will, what I was going to say is that, now that you say that, I think about, so WoW was successful with their $15 a month, and then I remember Star Wars The Old Republic kind of trying to do that, but people weren't as, like, that didn't last as long for them, so they switched to a free-to-play model, but with potential monthly stuff, and then also all this other stuff, and then Guild Wars 2 kind of picked up the free-to-play thing, and made it so it was mostly cosmetic stuff.
Well, but Guild Wars,
I felt like it.
Guild Wars 2 always had a purchase price and still does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guild Wars did the same thing, yeah.
They didn't have a... Like,
there
you
was
didn't
no
have to pay
subscription.
more every month.
Yeah.
I mean, you could pay more to, like, get cosmetic stuff
Right.
or just have more in-game currency, but, like, you didn't have to do that.
And that's kind of interesting where there's that. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt that. There are some games that, like World of Warcraft, that have that. There are still millions of people, thousands of people, millions of people. I'm going to say millions.
We have no idea.
That play World of Warcraft.
I'm pretty sure it's millions still.
Yeah, for that $15 a month. But when something new comes out, I think it's because of the way that, like, the legacy that it has, that it's been around for so long.
Well, the legacy, but also I feel like World of Warcraft was a unique example in that they were always updating the content. Yes, you had to pay for it, but there was so much content in World of Warcraft that it felt okay to pay for it. I remember
They were also first.
equipping gear and being like, how did they build this much gear into the system? Like, everything looks different. That each time they release a new expansion, there's a new raid or whatever, there's a whole new set of not just abilities, but all the gear looked different and everything was new. The amount of content that WoW released with each new expansion or in each new month even felt like it was worth it because there was a world to explore. I don't think there's been an MMO since that's managed to keep up month to month to month with that monthly subscription model.
I think that sort of drives home Dan's major overarching point of, with all this payment, all these different payment models, is it worth it to you to spend the money on?
Right. It's
from WoW to Candy Crush.
I just want to make a little reference. Like, have you ever gone to an amusement park?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you pay money to go to an amusement park?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you really come away with anything other than, hey, I had a really fun time at this amusement park?
Giant stuffed teddy bear.
But you paid for that giant stuffed teddy bear.
Well, and there's also amusement parks where you pay per ride, like Knoebels.
That's true. But it's also, again, that's like an experience. And that's kind of what these free-to-play games and these the pay-to-play games are doing like for you. And that's kind of like where the loot boxes that are more like the Overwatch, where you win them by leveling up and they give you cosmetic things, nothing that gives you a leg up in the game. Maybe Rocket League, where you can get loot boxes, this is kind of shitty. I know what you're going to say too. You're all going to say how shitty this is.
I was so pissed. I was so pissed. I was like flaming pissed when they were like, "Oh, hey, you have a loot box. Go check it out in the loot box place." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, a loot box, guys! I'm gonna get a loot box." So I go over. I'm like, "Oh my god, look at this loot box! It's so shiny." And I'm like, open, and the game's like, "Oh, hold on, sorry man, yeah, loot box, totally cool, but you need a key for that." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure, how do I get the key?" They're like, "Oh, you have to pay for it." I'm like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's
Fuck
PUBG.
you so
PUBG does the same
hard
thing
right now. I'm not down with that at all. If that's your free to play model, like, you're never gonna get a dime from me.
That's because that was a Counter-Strike Go thing, or just a Counter-Strike thing for a while.
Yeah.
And then a lot of other people started doing it now too. And that's very frustrating.
Yeah.
But again, it's the thing that some people were just like, I really do want that knife skin. That
That
might
knife
be
skin
in that.
could be worth $100. You never know.
Yeah, so maybe I'll pay that $5 and get that loot box. And
I'm just gonna say here, when you're gambling, the house always wins.
It's true.
It's true. Going back to the amusement park thing.
Yeah.
You all played Roller Coaster Tycoon, right?
No.
No. I mean, yes, I did. That's true. I did
like
play
the OG one?
Like
okay.
Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah.
So you could either, it was usually you either had rides that cost money and you had a free entry, or you had a park that you had to pay to go into and all the rides were free. Did I just say the same thing twice?
No, you're right. You said pay per ride.
Pay to
and then
ride
you said
or
pay to get in the
pay
park.
to get in.
Yeah.
Were you ever like a super big douchebag and made it so there was a park entry, but then you also had your rides that cost money?
No.
That is like the EA model. You know what I mean?
Amusement park format.
Like, yeah, you bought the game. That's cool. You should pay more money so you can get on like the good rides, you know? That's exactly what it is. And it's terrible.
Well, and
I felt bad doing that to those peeps in Roller Coaster Tycoon, and they're doing it to us.
And they're not even real. They're computer.
They're little.
construction.
I think it's actually even worse than that because the way that the boxes and the packs are designed is designed to make you want it more. Do you know what I mean? It's not just, hey, you can do this if you want to. There's a physical response to it that I think feels shitty and unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say, if you don't like this, don't buy those games. If you don't like this, do not invest in the extra stuff. And if you're worried that somebody else in the game is going to have a leg up on you because they paid $200 to have all the Battlefront 2 stuff, don't buy Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
And then have that good feeling knowing that you didn't give in to them and they spent $200 just to, be the best. They won.
That's right.
Be the best around. It reminds me of, can I tell you guys a joke? It's my favorite joke.
Ever?
Yeah.
Are we going out on a
Do
joke?
we have to pay for it?
One of them. Here you go. We're going out on a joke. You ready? All right. So a man goes to a doctor. He's like, doctor, it hurts whenever I do this. So the doctor says, well, then stop doing that.
Is that the joke?
That's the joke.
Is that a joke or like a parable? It's more like a parable because there's no punchline.
I guess it's more like a parable. Yeah, I guess it's more like a parable. But that's kind of what that's kind of what this free to play discussion is kind of like,
Well, on that note, I'd like to go out with a proverb. If you want to pick something up, you got to push it down first.
What?
You can't pick something up unless it's been pushed down.
That's not true. Things just naturally fall down.
You can pick up something
gravity.
that's not pushed down.
Well, it was pushed down by gravity.
Well, something pushed it down.
Or I guess
Maybe
maybe it
not.
pulled down.
Why do we fall down? So that we can learn to get back up again.
Oh,
All right, Alfred.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
G.I. Joe.
No, that's
Spider-Man, dude.
That's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I'm just saying G.I. Joe.
He just wanted to say G.I. Joe at that moment in time.
G.I. Joe is
Inspired to say
knowing
G.I.
is half
Joe.
the battle. Go, Joe.
All right. Have we microbrewed?
Knowledge is power is different or the same? I always get this confused.
Now you know. And knowing is half the battle.
Go.
G.I. Joe.
Power Rangers.
All right, friends. What do you think about the free-to-play or the pay-to-win models? Let us know by sending us an email at thegamebrew@gmail.com or by hitting us up on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at thegamebrew. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Microbrew. Hit us up. Good to talk to you. Catch y'all later. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
That was a weird voice.
It just kind of happened.
It's just happened.
What were you doing with your hands?
Those were jazz hands.
Jazz hands.
These are not
Those are
spirit
jazz
fingers.
hands. These are jazz
These are spirit fingers.
I like how in that movie, is that?
Let's get
Is
it
that-
on.
Is it Get It On? Yeah.
Let's get it on.
No, it's Bring It On.
Bring It On.
Oh, bring it on.
Bring It On.
Is this?
Get it on.
Different movie.
Get it on must have been a different movie night.